Welcome to the Chamber of Schenectady County's interview with Roger Hall, who is a candidate for mayor of the city of Schenectady. I'm Jack Arneke, and I'm pleased to be your host today. The Chamber is nonpartisan and issue-focused. Today we'll be discussing issues that affect the city of Schenectady, as well as businesses in Schenectady County and indeed all around the capital region. What is your top priority and how are you going to accomplish it?
Top priority is to reduce taxes and improve property values. And to accomplish it, I would do it two ways. On the micro level, I'd want to go to zero-based budgeting and start from scratch in City Hall. And on the macro level, it would be to reduce crime, improve graduation rates, and revitalize our neighborhoods. Because unless we can do those three things, we cannot ultimately reduce those taxes and grow the value of our homes and property.
Just a brief explanation of what you mean by zero-based budgeting.
Start all over. I mean, instead of simply saying, well, our budget last year was X, so this year is going to be X plus, let's have a group of people that I'd like to bring in from the outside on a volunteer basis, businessmen, public officials from other entities, take a look at our budget and let's see what can be cut out, but let's internally start all over again.
And as far as the other part of the equation, where you were talking about reducing crime and
right.
so on, how specifically would you accomplish?
Well,
that?
I just announced earlier today that if elected mayor, I will not be taking a salary or any benefits. I'll be serving without anything other than the desire to change this community. And what I would do with that $500,000, which is what it would be over 4 years, is hire an additional 2 to 3 police officers. And I would also eliminate the commissioner's position, which would reduce another $500,000 over 4 years. So you have $1 million that you could reallocate to bring and put more boots on the ground, which I think you need to do.
Okay. From urban blight to home ownership, public safety, redevelopment, the neighborhoods in Schenectady are facing a multitude of issues. What do you see, number one, as the most positive attribute of a neighborhood, the neighborhoods in this city, and how would you build on that?
The single most positive thing by far are the people of this community. I think the diversity is fantastic. I've walked every street in this community over these last 4 months, and I've had a great experience talking to and learning from the people in the community. And one of the things I would seek to do is what came out of Schenectady 2000 is the most positive thing, and that is the spirit of volunteerism. There are many people who volunteer in different ways. I just make it a much more concerted effort and using the people in the neighborhoods in that regard.
And a much more organized effort for
Much more organized, yes.
What issues do you see as the most pressing for the neighborhoods? Is it the crime issue? Is it drugs? Is it urban blight? What is it?
The answer is yes. I mean, it's
three.
all of the above. And one of the things that I would seek to do is to reallocate, and it would be a question of trying to convince people to do so, monies differently. The mayor talks about the fact that they have spent $900 million downtown. Well, first of all, it's not his money, and it was not his efforts. It was through Metroplex. Secondly, he talks about $10 million in the neighborhood. Whether that's real or not is subject to debate. But let's use his numbers of 910. You cannot put 90 times more resources in the downtown going forward than you have in the neighborhoods. And one of the things I would seek to do is to have legislation amended so that Metroplex funding could be used not just in the corridors, but in the neighborhoods.
The effort that he has made over the past, while he has been mayor, to remove some of the worst of the worst, the derelict buildings, is that a positive move? Do you see, is that something that will help the neighborhoods?
Jack, there's no question that taking down derelict buildings is a thing that is good. Mm-hmm. I had suggested that 4 years ago when I ran, that Metroplex money be used to do that, and we have used other monies that have come in through Senator Schumer, but basically what we've done is borrow against our CDBG monies, so we'll have less money to do other things.
Community Development Block Grant.
Correct. And so what I would want to do is to get more money into the neighborhoods and really try to turn things around in that way. And I would want to have a plan. My argument with the mayor is he has no vision, he has no plan, and therefore he has no leadership and is providing none.
The property taxes in Schenectady, residential and business, are among the highest, if not the highest, in the state. How do you see that being controlled? From what I hear from many residents, they're getting rather impatient with the high amount of taxes that they're paying. They want to see some tax relief. There's been a small amount of tax relief in the past 4 years for the city, for city taxes. But
no, there hasn't.
0.5% or something like that?
No. It hasn't been reduced at all. It may have grown a little bit only, but it hasn't been reduced. Mm-hmm. But the real triggering issue that people are not yet focused on, and I'm surprised because I would expect a pitchfork rebellion downtown on City Hall. We have lost $664 million in property value. When we ended up having a stock market collapse, people occupied Wall Street. Where's the occupation of City Hall when 20% of the value of people's homes has evaporated?
Mm-hmm. So what do you do about it?
You start turning it around, you have a concerted plan, and that plan provides more police officers so you can try and reduce crime. You put a mobile command center on 6th and Crane so you can deal with the epicenter of drugs. You end up encouraging and finding the way to get police officers and first responders to live in the city, because you're not going to have any crime if the person living next to you is a first responder. You work with the school district to improve graduation rates, and you revitalize the neighborhoods and infuse capital into them.
And that would all result down the road in reducing the tax burden.
Yes.
You feel? Yeah. What about the casino? We have the casino coming in. The mayor is now talking about a 10% reduction the first year, and perhaps more after that. What do you see?
Well, first of all, it's an election year, so not only are roads paved, but now you are suddenly presented with a 0% tax increase, which is simply a question of having raided the rainy day fund. So we have less money for things we should do. He can provide that 0% tax increase, if that's the ultimate thing, by not having paid $1.7 million to the county that it's owed, $4.5 million to the retirement fund that is owed, and $6.96 million to the school system that is owed. So we have not only not paid our bills, we have ended up pink-slipping teachers and cutting programs in our schools. And that's not the way you run something. It's credit card management. It's paying for your present by borrowing against the future in a way that's unsound.
What do you think about the casino? Is it going to be a successful effort?
I can't tell you whether it's going to be successful. What I can tell you is it hasn't really been successful anywhere in this country. The casino industry is one that is basically losing money everywhere. So I can hope it'll be successful. But one of the things that I think is, pie in the sky is to say we're going to get $4.1 million from the casino next year, and we're therefore going to have tax reductions of 10%, when you have to factor in first that initially it was going to be $5.7 million, and a 30% reduction right off the bat before anything happened. The second thing you have to recognize is that no one's factored in infrastructure costs, the additional fire and police costs, and the social costs. And just to address those things quickly, we have, first of all, the fact is that in the city of Philadelphia, where Rush Gaming is also operating, the mayor will say there's no crime. Well, there is no crime in the facility and in the zone of the casino. But that's in part because 14 members of the Philadelphia police force are dedicated to the protection of that area. And it doesn't say anything about what happens just outside of that periphery. So when you have an historic district like the Stockade, and you have prostitution outside of that area and other crimes, then you have a negative situation as far as I'm concerned. The second thing you have to factor in is that you have social costs. The National Association of Realtors found that with the projections for Springfield, there are going to be $8.4 million a year annually of social costs, bankruptcies, and people needing additional help. So you have some real issues, and you can compound that. That same report says that property values, and you'll be happy to hear this, property values are projected to go down 2 to 10% in cities that host casinos. Not a really positive picture.
So if elected mayor, how do you cope with that?
You work hard, and one of the things I would do is to make sure we have an agreement that specifies precisely what the city will get to help mitigate those costs. The mayor will say, we don't need it because the casino is going to guarantee that they're going to pay full sales tax and full property tax. What he either doesn't know, which would be sad, or does know, which would be dishonest, is that we have in Pittsburgh and Philadelphia the same Rush Gaming that challenges its property assessments every year. And so we're not going to get what we think we're going to get, and that's something that you would need to pin down. The other thing you need to pin down is we talk about 1,200 jobs that are going to come into this community. Right now, it looks more like a jobs program for Albany, Amsterdam, and Troy, because no jobs have been set aside for Schenectadians. One of the things I would want to seek to do is that there would be jobs for people from this city. And I think that's something that can be specified in an agreement.
Broader look, what would you do to attract more business and expand the business base in Schenectady?
I would lobby actively. I would go to businesses. I would be at R&D and GE R&D and figure out what we might do downtown. I would go to Fairfield, the headquarters, and talk to them about what we might do. And I would lobby other businesses to come in.
Okay, and what about businesses in the neighborhoods themselves? Well, I see our time has gone, but very quickly, businesses in the neighborhoods. Crane Street.
I would encourage people by cutting red tape. I would let the entrepreneurial spirit take hold. Right now, we are a business-unfriendly community. Friendly for the people coming down to State Street and working with Metroplex. Unfriendly in terms of the arteries from Broadway to Chrysler to Crane to Van Vranken. I'd want to make sure that's changed.
Thank you, Roger Hall, for taking time to join me today and to share your thoughts and ideas on the important issues facing Schenectady and the entire capital region. To see interviews with the candidates for mayor of the city of Schenectady, please visit www.capitalregionchamber.com. Remember to vote on Election Day, Tuesday, November 3rd.